Welcome to another edition of the Corner Booth Podcast here at the Snowden Deli. I'm Aaron Rand from CJD, along with Bill Brownstein of the Montreal Gazette, and our special guests today, City Councillor for the Peter McGill District, that's downtown Montreal, Leslie Roberts, thank you, and a business owner in that district, Feigang Fei, who owns a Chinese restaurant on St-Mathieu in downtown Montreal. This is great because you two have so much to talk about, and we're glad to be able to be the intermediaries here, so thank you. Now, before we begin, I should mention I've been reading some of the comments online, and some of you are bothered by the fact that this smoked meat sandwich sits here for the entire time and doesn't get eaten. And some of you think that's wrong. Bill, you've seen the same comments.
Yeah.
So I thought perhaps to make it easier for some people, perhaps we should just remove it so as not to shift the focus or the attention from what we're doing. What do you think?
And then you'll eat it afterwards.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or although both our guests will get the
Yeah.
take it away or put it back.
Put it on.
Fine. All right.
Look,
I did not.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. The city is doing a great deal of work downtown. That's your district.
Yes.
The problem with that is, as much as it's needed, it is affecting businesses down there. Feigang is a perfect example. He's saying that in his particular case, construction is really hurting his business. So, Feigang, let's start with you. What's going on and why are you concerned? What's the problem?
Because I remember last year for a majority part of the year, the St-Catherine Street near the Guy Street was closed for some maintenance, right? And then this right after it's open for a month or two, it started again closing up. So right now it's fenced off. You have to go detour. It's very difficult for customer to get to the business. Actually, we're on the St-Mathieu Street. We are not impacted directly by those other restaurants. The Trois Amigos, they have terrace the summer, so you cannot imagine their loss. And all those kind of restaurants on the St. Catherine. But for us, mainly, it's less people going to downtown because of frustration. They foresee the difficulty of parking or getting around. Also, we rely heavily on Uber Eats, the deliveries, right? And then a lot of time you don't have drivers. They don't have drivers, so the algorithm gonna turn off for your restaurant for a certain period of time. And we have, for example, when order is ready, on the app shows to look for a driver called matching. It's still 20 minutes still on the state of match. It's trying to match the driver to the restaurant to pick up order.
And they're not coming because it's so hard to get to the restaurant.
Very, very hard for them.
Okay.
For the drivers.
Leslie, you've inherited a situation, in all fairness, but it's never-ending construction in the city, and you're very well aware of this: potholes, orange cones, everywhere we go. We get dates that by 2096 or something, everything will be...
What, they moved it back?
Yeah, they moved it back. But why can't we get on top of this problem? Summer's coming, we've got the festivals coming, you've got the restaurants suffering. What gives?
Let me begin by saying I asked all those same questions, and you are one of many who I've met since I was elected back in November. Bottom line is the work we inherited has to get done. The original schedule was 2030. Through some of our efficiencies, we've managed to cut it back to 2029, and we are continuing to look at other ways to do it. In the meantime, as you know, there are financial relief funds that we have at the city. There were many restaurant owners and business owners in the district that weren't eligible when we came in, and we've now expanded the zone. So you are now covered, which immediately gets you $5,000 and then up to $40,000 finances once we see your documents of your losses. So I know it can be tough to fill it out.
Were you aware that this was available, the financial help?
I was, to be honest, because one lady came to the restaurant to saying during certain nights they're gonna turn off the water or something. She didn't mention that, but usually it's also public money, to be honest. We don't want to, but we are surviving okay right now. So, and I expect a lot of paperwork
Well, we've actually put it online, and I'll help you separately offline. We can work on this, pardon the pun. And ultimately, we realize the frustration, the paperwork, and we've made it easier to do it. But to your point, you say it's public funds, but it's also part of the responsibility when the work is to be done to make sure that the businesses continue to operate. So we don't see it as taxpayers' dollars going somewhere that shouldn't go. It's part of the project at large.
One of the interesting things in reading Feigang's story is talking about the fact that here we have a nice sunny day when everyone should be out there working because, you know, they're big open pits on the street for all intents and purposes, and no work is being done. And that's why the things you had noted, saying, why not? Why can't we have those city workers to try to get the job done even faster work on those days?
I took that question right to our services as well. And long story short, there is a municipal law that you can't do construction between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. The reason why is because there are people in the neighborhood, right? Shaughnessy Village, whatever. My follow-up question is, well, why don't we change it? It'd be great to be able to have people working at night, to be able to work on weekends like the previous weekend that was perfect for construction weather. The problem is, those contractors who in the past we have worked with, so I would say those who are proven, don't bid when we offer nights and weekends because it is cost prohibitive for them. Because of union rules, because of just the nature of working at night, it can be 3 to 5 times more expensive to get a project done. Talking about taxpayers' dollars, it doesn't make sense. And now it means that we go longer, don't get me wrong, but we don't cost as much. And at the end of the day, the balance sheet is what we're held accountable for.
But who says that's a stupid question?
There are no stupid questions.
If that's the case, why wouldn't there be a shift where we could have workers who work nights and that's their shift? So it's not about paying someone double or triple overtime. It's saying your shift is midnight to 6 a.m., for example, and work can be done.
Yeah, I would say speak to the contractors, speak to the unions. They'll tell you that it's built in. So, I mean, right now, if you work overnights, then ultimately you end up paying a lot more.
Leslie, but who's this maverick pothole fixer that's going around town and like fixing potholes randomly? What's the deal
I
there?
wonder if he can use a backhoe. Maybe he can do a night shift on St-Catherine St.
I think he's doing enough.
Yeah, I think he's doing enough as well. Well, first of all, I mean, we're shifting all over the place.
Yeah, can we just go back?
Sure.
I want to deal with his farm for just a second.
I'll
We
get
can
back
bounce our bills in a sec. So the work that's being done now at St. Catherine Street, let's be honest, is a bit of a mess. And I realize it's a long-term project. How long is this going to go on? And what happens with merchants like Feigang, for example, who are suffering because of this?
So let me begin by saying that originally I said it was 2030. We're going to 2029. The reason we did that is because when they set up a construction zone, quite often they double the size of where the work is being done because one side will get done and then the other side will get done, which further infringes on people like you. So we took a look at it and said, well, why is this sitting here idle while this is getting work done? Why can't we just throw more people at this and get it done faster? That's how we're able to save a year, because we said to the contractors, can you get more manpower to make sure that both are going at the same time? They said, yes. Now you're going to say, well, where do we get the money for that? Because we're doubling the work. So the money that we've allocated for 2030 has now being spent now so that we can get the project done sooner. So it's the same money, shorter amount of time.
Yeah, so that's the good news. Less time.
That's
but in the right direction. Yeah.
But regarding, actually, I learned the bylaw by the article you mentioned. I read the article. I did not know that bylaw, but it totally making sense for like 7 to 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. for the noise disturbance issue. But I think it's for the weekend holidays, like that doesn't sound very logical, because during the day nobody is disturbed. It's like the noise level already high.
The bylaw also says no work on Sundays.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're talking about Saturdays.
Yeah.
But again, if you work 5 days a week and then you're working a 6th day, it'll be time and a half.
So different shift. It's gonna do different shift. So people still working 40 hours, but people working on the weekend during the day.
Yeah.
So on the different shift.
So you would have to get more manpower.
Yeah,
because it is a weekend shift, the union rules are they're paid more.
Yeah.
And it's again, it's a question of how much tax dollars and could they find the manpower? That's in previous experiences where they put out the call to do the night shift to try and get it done faster. There wasn't the amount of interested contractors that there would be during a normal day.
Well, how much flexibility do you have in terms of your new administration? You, as Bill said, you've inherited, the situation.
It had to get done in all defense of the previous administration. It was a mess and they needed to get it done and do it right. And that's what's happening.
How long, I mean, with respect to what I started to say, what can you change? Can you change anything? Deals with unions, city blue collar work, nothing. That hasn't.
Contracts have been signed. What we changed is the amount of time and the compensation.
Okay.
We've now expanded it so you and others in the zone, because the zone, literally, when they set up the zone, it was right down Stanley Street. The Brigade Pizza.
Yeah,
I'm sure you guys know the Brigade Pizza. Jean Daniel he and I have worked very hard on this. we've now managed through executive committee order and passed by city council to expand it so that now not just one side of the street, but all of it. And we've made it even bigger. In fact, around the city where there are other construction zones as well are also covered. So we see the financial help that we're getting to more people, given the nature of it.
But the harsh reality, Leslie, is the
Yes.
fact that
Tell
we're
me.
living, we have an ever deteriorating infrastructure here. At one point, we're going to slip into the river somehow, or something's going to
But
happen.
it's a conspiracy
It's
theory.
a conspiracy. But the point is that this will be going on forever. There's always going to be something.
True. Hopefully less often. And that's the bottom line. If you were to look inside the construction site, it goes all the way back to the days where wood was used. So they're literally cleaning it out. It's like a root canal. They're going right to the base and they're pulling it all out from there. They're pulling it all out. So they're putting in the proper pikes, the proper wiring. Right now, I heard it described by one person who goes down there on the services as a bowl of spaghetti, because the wires are like this, the pipes are like that, and nothing makes sense. We need to set the infrastructure so that it lasts and that we don't have to rip it up every 2 years. And that's the goal here. And that's why the hard work and the heavy lift is being done. Short-term pain for long-term gain.
Do you compare with other cities? I mean, people hear this in Montreal, and why here? Is it the same everywhere else?
Yeah.
I mean, how far back?
Distinct society, Aaron. There's a history. I think it's a long history that the job wasn't done the way it should have been done, and I think we're trying to make sure that it is done.
Passed off administration to administration.
I can't speak for previous administration, but as a former journalist, I would say they did leave us this. I would say, yeah, absolutely. I followed the news as everybody did, but we're going to get it done right. And also, if I can add, we've launched, as you know, the Living Lab downtown, which is an AI lab, which may even create more efficiencies. Because right now, if the bulldozer operator calls in sick, you've got domino effect, because there are so many layers. You've got Energier, you've got Hydro, you've got the contractor. What AI will allow us to do is take all that information, all those layers, put it into one, so that when one domino falls, they don't all fall. We'll come up with a solution. So we'll be able to find that bulldozer replacement or that driver sooner than we do now, because right now, for hours, waiting for someone to be called in to cover a sick day, that is wasted time. The bottom line here, or the goal, is to make sure we don't waste those hours.
The Corner Booth podcast is brought to you in part by the Snowden Delicatessen, where we are. 75 years in business, the home of Montreal's greatest smoked meat, plus carnotzel, potato latkes, and the famous Snowden Deli party sandwiches. That's the Snowden Delicatessen.
Montrealers understand the need for repair, the infrastructure being what it is. But what drives people insane in this city is the fact that we redo things that have been done like 6 months, a year early. And this goes on not so much every summer, downtown, every part of the city. How do we clean that kind of operation?
So it's a work in progress, right? That's what we're in the process of doing, is figuring it out so that we don't dig it up every 2 years.
Do it right the first time would be a good.
This is what we're doing, right?
Like Hydro comes in, oh, well, you covered us up, we have to undo this.
The goal is only emergency repairs will happen, and we'll try and set it so every 5 years that there won't be some sort of patchwork that's necessary. The bottom line is that when you have an infrastructure that's new, it's like a television. It lasts for so many years, and then the tube goes or whatever. The more you invest in you don't repair the tube. You go out and get a new TV, and that's unfortunately what we've been doing. We've been repairing the tubes. But now we'll be able to make sure that
we have to settle for obsolescence.
Right.
But is that possible? Part of the reason is like we're missing the blueprints from old times.
They actually have some.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. There's a real snapshot of what Montreal is like. And to your point, some of the blueprints may not be there, don't get me wrong. But if you go down there and there's wooden structure holding up pipes from a bygone era.
I hear Ellen D'Souza on the news today quoted as saying, with respect to water infrastructure here, there's, I don't even know the number, but I think it was in the billions as to what it's going to take to get this eventually fixed.
Absolutely. Now that's a bigger issue, and obviously an important one, but it's something that's long-term, not the short-term downtown.
So let's get to Bill.
Potholes.
Bill wanted to bring up, which is pot. I had someone on my show, actually, had Sad, the young man doing this on my show. So the question is, here's someone, a citizen, who's taken it upon himself to help the city. We know this is the worst year ever for potholes. I think 14,000 have already been repaired, but that's really just a drop in the bucket given to what we have. And he goes out, does this on his own. And I ask people, is he a hero or is he a zero? However you want to frame it.
You like him.
I do. And
Yeah.
I think I'll tell you what, I would understand if the issue was, well, what he's doing is not up to code or it's unsafe. But he has gone out of his way, it seems to me,
Yeah.
to make sure he's doing it the same way a city worker would,
Yeah.
with the same equipment,
Yeah.
sets up a zone where he cordons off the area. He's got cones. He has a truck with flashers on. Why is this an issue for the city? I know the mayor said she respects the passion he's showing in doing this, but what's the but?
I think ultimately it would be holding him responsible should you get a pothole in one of the potholes he fixed. I mean, a blown tire and potholes he fixed. As we
We
know,
get a blown tire anyway.
it was a, but then you can come after us and not him, right? And the ultimately is, insurance companies will not respect, will not see that as legitimate work. So you're actually potentially also being affected that way legally as well. I would say there's one thing to ask citizens, and the mayor has said this is a partnership here. We're asking people, apathy is not
Do your part as a citizen.
correct. But there's a limit. I mean, picking up garbage in front of your property is one thing, but actually doing, the work of professionals who are hired by the city, the blue collar workers, don't give me the eye.
Professionals?
Well, you know what I mean?
Okay, with all due respect,
Yeah.
we know what goes into the pothole.
Yeah.
He has the same material that goes into the
Yeah.
pothole.
Okay.
He heats it up the
Right.
same way.
Yep.
He has a machine that flattens it out the same way, which is exactly what the city workers
Yeah.
are doing.
Well,
Is it not? Am I missing something
He's
here?
also putting orange cones up there illegally while he's doing this work.
To protect people?
Well, no, but what I'm saying is though that he is obstructing the road. He's not. There are rules in place. There are laws in place. Otherwise, it's
It's not the Wild Wild West,
no.
to be honest.
No, and I respectfully disagree. I mean, I understand, hey, this is what we hope for, that more and more people are stepping up, but there are risks associated with that. And as an administration, we can't go out and say, citizens, do the work that we're expected to do with taxpayers' dollars beyond picking up garbage on your front lawn.
By the way, he's not charging for his work. He's absorbing all the costs on his own. He's saving the city money.
Yeah.
Well,
Where's the downside?
initially, but we don't know what down the road.
Okay.
Have you met him, Feigang?
Let's be honest.
I heard that story, man.
Let's be honest. With respect to the work he's doing,
Yeah.
I'll let this go eventually because I don't understand. He fills the pothole, and you're suggesting, well, if that pothole eventually goes bad and becomes a pothole again, that's every pothole, even the ones the city does. The potential
difference
problem is exactly the
The
same.
difference is that the city is protected in terms of insurance, in terms of the protocol. I mean, the guy there is, it goes beyond just going out there and filling potholes. There are laws in place. There are
I
protocols to do. Yeah,
I just don't understand why. Bill, help me out here.
Yes, I don't understand. What is your
I-
thought? Do you think he should be allowed to continue? Would you have appreciated him outside your place filling up potholes?
100% sure if hospital workers cannot help enough patients, like some people sick, dying or something, if other people can help, like basic stuff should be fine.
Sure, if you can do the Heimlich maneuver when somebody's choking, but if the guy requires, an airwave obstruction,
I think perhaps that's an unfair
well,
analogy.
it is, except that it also reflects very much.
But it's like it's an official position from him.
Well, it's the city administration.
He's voluntary. He's a city helper.
Well, maybe, I hear you. And I would encourage people to do that when it comes to picking up garbage, as the mayor has done. It's a partnership. But I think the work that would be possibly, the infrastructure, because it's roads, is something has to be done by someone who is professional, follows the rules of the city and the laws.
With respect to professionals, what sort of course do the professionals at the city take to learn how to fill a
So
pothole?
let me get back to you on
Yeah. Is that a graduate course?
You want to take it?
We can like to know. Professional pothole affiliate.
No, but look, here's the thing. I mean, he's putting himself at risk, right?
But he's prepared to take that risk.
Yeah, but at the same time, the city is not, because there are rules in place so that vigilantism, for lack of a better term, doesn't make the problem worse potentially.
So what's the potential? I'm going to get off this, but what's the potential where he gets hit by a car while he's filling it and therefore the city's liable, not him? Is that what?
I'm not going to go through a list of, that's a lot of goals.
Is that a hypothetical?
Absolutely it is. There are many more. What if the work is done poorly and
Could the work be done
Any
or poorly?
That's not quite true. The work is not being done poorly. It's that more
The
costs
system-
than
Let's have a solution. Why can't the city just hire him?
Well, I don't know if he has the credentials.
Well, so far it seems that he can do that.
He has the tools. What does he need? He knows how to do this. I've seen his videos.
So, so have I, and good on him for that. But what if, and this is a hypothetical center point, something goes wrong? Then what? Are we supposed to pay when he's sued?
I understand. I'm not sure what could go wrong, given that he's doing this exactly the same way a professional pothole filler would.
According to us non-professionals, it looks great. But I wonder if we had someone here who is a professional pothole filler would agree with us.
Should have asked him to bring one today. I mean,
Maybe.
that would have been
Okay,
great.
next week.
Okay.
The basic issue, it seems, why are our, like, what kind of cement, what are we using that makes them crack up all the time? Like, what's the problem there?
Are we not using the same thing called asphalt that's eventually...
I don't know the quality of the asphalt or the materials, but I can tell you this. There are a number of people in the city led by our administration looking for a more solid asphalt that will last longer. We're working with ETS. We're working with other universities. There's a test. We have a lab that's testing it to see under real conditions. I don't know if you've been to ETS.
I've spoken to the guy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And we're working very closely with them to see how we can improve it till it lasts longer. The main problem, to answer Bill's thing, is we can't keep up. This has been the worst year as far as I can remember, and we're all of the same era, covering potholes, and it goes with every spring, it seems, here in Montreal, that because of the fluctuation in the weather, because as you mentioned on your show yesterday, Aaron, that half the pothole machines that we inherited weren't working. Right. So we ordered new ones, but we've also, put in lots of money, millions, to get subcontractors to go out there and do it.
To that point, you had trouble finding contractors to do this?
Yeah.
Why? I mean, is the money not...
We got to ask Sad to apply for that and see if he qualifies. The money, it's not the question of money. It's a question of are they available to do it? And do they meet the required standards that are set out by our city services? And if we don't want people going out there just doing it on their own, to our last point.
No, but when you look for a contractor and you post
professional
tenders, do you not get people?
Yeah. And they are out there. But
there's a front of the unqualified.
Oh, they're all qualified.
You have to go through a review of something?
Exactly. Yes. It's like a tender.
Yeah. This is epidemic throughout the city, not just city of Montreal. You go through westbound, and it's terrible. Yeah.
But also, one thing is very important, I guess, is like the creation of the potholes. Even in the west end, we have a Boulevard Saint-Jean, Boulevard Saint-Charles.
Yeah.
Both of the roads, I guess they were built 3 or 4 years ago, brand new. Brand new.
St. John's and St. Charles.
Yeah, St. John, St. Charles. Now they have potholes. So whose fault is that? Is any warranty? We buy a LG TV screen. We have warranty. It must be something.
You're onto something. And I always said, there should be accountability on the work that is done. Is there a guarantee? Is there a warranty?
Brand new.
I don't have the answer on that. But I mean, you would think when you get something built and spend millions of dollars, that there would be an expected, time that it would last.
Did someone say Charbonneau Commission? Anyway, so listen, we're going to have to wrap up. I think this is a wonderful thing, by the way. I commend you. I commend the administration for actually...
What was that?
I said it.
Thank you.
For actually sitting down with a citizen, with my restaurant, business owner, listening to the problem and actually doing something about it with respect to the money being offered to businesses to help them. That's a fabulous initiative. I remember the last administration talked about it, but they left so many people out. So as I said, I think it's great that someone like, Feigang can actually meet his local councillor and be able to bring up these issues and have them dealt with.
But I guess we're never going to have a situation like in Grand Prix, like the Monte Carlo, where we're going to have it running through the streets of this city.
Well, we have the bike race.
Yeah, we serve that's all
championship coming up in that was the Friday stuff coming up in the fall, right? And we're working very hard to make sure that what happened in the previously, where unfortunately cyclists fell in the hole. Trust me, the work is getting done on that. The F1, we've already, as you know, made to us is less expensive.
Terrific move.
Thank you. We're working in conjunction with the fire chief on this. I brought everyone to the table. And Sandra Ferrara gave her blessing to the initiative as well. It was, unfortunately, a scandal 2 years ago, and this year we're making sure that it's not. And we encourage everyone, come back downtown. We've got cleanliness going on much faster than we have in previous years. And I talk about the partnership of cleaning it up. That's something that we're working very, very hard on as well. The downtown is shining again. We have a few issues, glaring issues that are still being worked on. But I mean, it's been 6 months. You know,
Fair.
imagine a year from now. And
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
Like I'm a restaurant owner, very busy, but all the time I think about those things, and I guess we need to have for potholes the construction overall quality. I think we need to have a longer plan. Like for example, like you know the super hospital and the highway 20.
Yes.
That 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, the quality is amazing. After the toll-called interchange, right?
Mhm.
So it's because they're thick, the concrete, so you never have potholes for that highway.
so far.
It's gonna last for like 50 years at least because of the quality of the concrete. Everything you have to do the concrete and the steel. And for this problem to disappear, you have to have a long-term plan. So you start with the highways like 40, 20, 15, 30, all those highway. You do that like in 5 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
Do that all concrete.
I think the issue with that is that's provincial, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
transport
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But I'm on to your point. You're 100%
and
right.
then if you have the long-term plan, like even 15 years, 20 years, you won't have potholes for the main highways, and then you do the boulevards.
Good
You do the
places.
same thing with the
Main streets.
very thick,
Yep.
main streets, very thick concrete. So you won't have the pothole problem. Then those small streets, the big heavy truck, they don't go there.
Yeah.
So
You missed your calling.
Yeah,
Be working with us.
because
There might be something here.
Yeah, it's a good
because
point.
you
How
have
do you feel potholes by any chance?
another thing, if you really want to have fix everything, the quality thing, I would recommend you have a volunteer group called, like, you can call it Project Shaman, for focusing on the roads. You know,
Wow.
That's our job, though.
yeah,
That is our job. I mean, I agree.
you can have
problem is
volunteers cost nothing.
there shouldn't have to be volunteers, you know. And we do say if you notice there's a pothole, call 311 immediately, and it's put on.
No, because right now the reason I'm mentioning the volunteer because right now with the information technology is so easy to create
To put people together.
yeah, exactly. So the website, the app to track everything, so all the information will be there. It costs nothing.
Yeah.
Zero.
To his point, do you have a dedicated group within the city administration dealing
Track
with
everything
potholes?
public to the
Yes.
it is to the public.
We do,
And get public involved, you know, everybody know, okay, we have a problem here, so we just track the information. And this same street being worked on like 10 times, every time from when to when, what was the reason, what contract was signed, you know?
Great idea.
that's all the AI
That's zero.
is a part of what
That's
so
zero.
part of
Yeah.
what we're doing, and
that
that
would
is
be amazing. And,
hopefully soon.
and show this to public, you know?
Yeah.
Great idea.
We think about politics, maybe?
No, for me, restaurant business.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you both. Leslie,
Thank you.
Feigang, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks
That
for
wraps
having
up another edition of the Corner Booth podcast here at the Stone Deli. And yes, this will get eaten. We'll see you again soon.